Well, good early evening. We have the toughest job of all. We stand between you and drinks. So the best way to proceed is to be effective. Ask lots of questions so you get very thirsty. And then you'll appreciate the drinks even more. Well, thank you, Alexandre, for having us here for this panel. I think it's looking at the future. This is probably maybe the most important topic of all because it's the one that will have the most impact for the future. My name is Hani Henein. I'm with the University of Alberta, and I will continue to try and be controversial. I have really quite an esteemed members of the delegation. I'm going to quickly introduce them. You'll get to hear them, and they'll be able to talk to you and address some of these topics that we'll talk about today. Sol Villar is Senior Vice President, Organization and Human Resources, Atlantic Copper from Spain. Didier Zimmermann, Education and Innovation Director, EIT RawMaterials from Germany. And Sonja Nurmi, EU Coordinator, BAT Circle 2.0, Aalto University, Finland. So, quite an interesting mix of expertise that we have here. And we are going to talk about what kind of training do we need for this green academy and the green needs of the future. I don't know if you've taken any notes, but I try to keep track of the topics that have been covered, thinking as a university professor, the areas that we need to educate students for the future. I've got mining, mineral processing, extractive metallurgy, including recycling, environmental issues, computing, economics, political science, nanomaterials, bulk materials. That includes steels, aluminum alloys, copper, corrosion, failure analysis, energy production, transport, storage, and transportation. And I'm sure I left a few out. That's a lot. How are we going to do that? What are the things that we should be paying attention to more? And essentially, how are we going to prepare young people today so that they'll have 30, 40-year careers to the future, and they'll have the tools to be able to meet the challenges that we don't know about yet. We know some of them, but we don't know all of them, so that they can tackle them and succeed for the future. So to start, let's talk about the key green skills that are going to be needed and those that the future workforce are going to have. And we'll start with Didier, first addressing those topics. Okay.
Thank you. Can I have the slides, please? Okay, next one, please. Yeah. I can do it? Okay, good. Okay, thank you for the introduction. I think that you resumed it very well. I would say going from the brown economy to the green economy, effectively it will be a fundamental shift we have to tackle, and this for many reasons. There will be a growing needs of raw materials for the different technologies that will be used to support the Green Deal and the energy transition. We will have to move towards recycling and circularity. It's important. Mining is also important, but both will be important in the future, effectively, to support the green economy. There will be also a need of better understanding the raw materials value chains. You know that you have specific metals for specific technologies, for specific value chain and so on. it's important effectively for a company to have a clear understanding on who are the main actors and how it is running. And innovation will be crucial if effectively we want to move faster from the brown economy to the green economy. In this slide, you can see how much, I would say, the materials which are on the left side of these slides, meaning the critical materials and the materials are important for all the technologies which are associated effectively to renewable and to e-mobility. And from a study we have performed, we believe that by 2030, the industry will need something like 5 million new jobs to support effectively the green economy on renewables and on e-mobility. And if we look precisely, to the raw materials value chain, which starts with exploration and ends with recycling, we believe that it's something like 1.2 million new jobs that will be needed by 2030 to support effectively the energy transition. And this is a huge challenge. So the organization I belong, which is EIT RawMaterials, has been created in 2016, has a mission effectively to support the green transition by effectively supporting innovation, entrepreneurship, business creation, and education, which is fundamental. And we have for this developed a series of master degrees which do cover, as you will see, the entire value chain of the raw materials, coming from natural resource management to exploration, to mining, to sustainable materials, to advanced materials, and also to recycling. And the AMIR Master is a very famous one because it has been recognized as one of the best master by the European Commission and also by our own organization, EIT. What do they provide? They provide courses, they provide skills, expertise in this different domain, but also they provide an entrepreneurship mindset. And also, they provide to the students the possibility, effectively, to do internship, to be effectively every 6 months in a different universities, and also to be in strong, I would say, interaction relation with RTO, and also with industries, through different kind of events we do organize. You organize the race. The race is for small challenges for the students. And we also do organize one day with startups, effectively, to bring the students to entrepreneurship. I'm very happy to show you this picture. This is from a survey we have made last year. The question was, where are our graduates? I mean, the one we have been able effectively to bring to the different masters. The first point you can see here is on the gender balance. I'm very happy to see that because sometimes exploration mining is not so sexy, I would say, and it's mainly male. No, it's not the case. We have a good balance if we look between males and females participating at these different courses. We have students from more than 20 countries, but what is nice to see here is that you see these masters have been really adopted, I would say, by the industry. 2/3 of these masters have now a job in the industry, not only in the raw material sectors. You can see a few companies here, like LPEB, like Rio Tinto, but they also have jobs in companies which are now aware of the importance of raw materials, like, for example, Airbus, like Bosch, or like, for example, other companies like Siemens. So this is what we do provide, I mean, to the industry, not only the raw materials industry, but also industries that are related to the raw materials value chain. We also have developed a large portfolio of lifelong learning projects for professional trainings. We have defined them in different categories, expert level, advanced level, and introductory level. And we have been able to map them towards effectively different target groups. You can see raw materials, retail industry, you can see startups and so on. We have developed more than 40 training modules. And so far, we have been able effectively to train more than 7,000 people in the last 4 years. So that's the way I would like to illustrate you. I mean, how an organization like EIT RawMaterials can effectively support the Green Deal, the energy transition, by providing talents for the future, but also by giving the possibility for employees that are, for example, in the mining industry or even in the oil industry to jump into the modern mining and the modern exploration, the modern recycling industry. Thank you.
I guess I have one question. Quite an impressive program. How long has it been running?
We started in 2016, and I think the first courses were in operation in 2019. So all this data are from 4 years, I would say, period. I told you we have been able so far to train more than 7,000 people. Sorry. In reskilling, upskilling, but we have also been able to provide something like 300 masters to the industry. And now with the 9 masters we have, which are all these EIT labeled masters, we can provide something like 200 to 300 new masters every year to the industry.
Excellent. So, Sol, do you want to add something to that?
Sure. I was listening to Didier, and one thing I like to do once in a while is get out of the box. Okay, let's be disruptive. And obviously, we are talking about EIT raw material. Materials are important. But if we don't say that, who's going to say that? Green Deal, it's important, because they need metals to do the transition, the green transition. But how about if we go to the World Economic Forum survey, Future for Jobs, just published 2 days ago? How about that? Is that our industry? Is that metals? No, they're worldwide. They're asking more than 800 companies worldwide with 11 million employees. And they say, hey, what's important? What's going to move the jobs of the future? What's going to move it? And they say, hey, the first thing is going to move it is green transition. We need professionals to apply to execute Green Deal. And we're talking worldwide. Obviously, politics and economics is the thing that is going to, and technology is what is going to move and what is going to bring up all those needs for jobs. So obviously, it's not that we as EIT RawMaterials say we're important. No, World Economic Forum is saying you are important. When we said in Atlantic Copper that our proposal is to provide the metals to the world to be able to face green transition and to face technological needs, all of it based on sustainability and circular economy, to be able to create a better world for future. I mean, that seems to be something that, what are you thinking about? Well, we are thinking about reality. Europe is having a policies to assure that we have materials, raw materials. So the first thing would be, do we doubt in any moment that Green Deal skills are required? No, not because we say that, but because the world says that. Now the second point would be, so what is what we need? And I go back to the same study because they just put all of us right off the top. And they said, okay, we need critical analysis, we need creativity, we need innovation, and all of that towards green solutions. And there's one thing, and I'm just gonna let my colleague keep talking about the matter. There's one thing that I really like, and I think that gives a meaning to being all of us here today. And that is that in the 5th place where they say what is the most required jobs that they are having, worldwide. And the second one is sustainability and ESG managers. The 4th one is talent managers. And that is because you are developing through all these masters and PhDs and studies a lot of skills that us companies need. And people like me, and I'm not saying just myself, but my role, it's been more promoted and more upskilled because we need to find people that develop those skills to find the goals that the world needs to have a Green Deal, not only in Europe, but I would say that we need it worldwide.
Thank you. Please.
I would like to continue with that one. Well, it is said that because this green transition is such a long process that is going to change completely the way society works. So we need so many new solutions and new ways of thinking, everything basically. So in today's engineers, we don't need to, or also other fields. Of course, that means that we need highly educated people in every level, and we don't need to teach only like green skills, but we need to teach very good like leading and negotiating and collaboration skills as well. As in some studies, these meta skills have been told to be, well, the most important skills for future engineers throughout their whole career.
As I've been listening today to all the presentations and listening to what you've been saying just now, I reflect back to some of the earliest lectures that I've given, Introduction to Materials Science and Engineering, to engineering students. And we always start the first lecture with the Stone Age, and then the Copper Age, and the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. And then much later on, the Industrial Revolution, and then you've got the Semiconductor Age. And it struck me we're probably entering the Green Age. So maybe that's what we should be calling it rather than the Green Transition. We should be calling it the Green Age, because listening to you, we need a whole new, an additional set of tools to prepare people for all those new jobs that exist out there. How are we going to do that? I mean, Didier, you've been successful in starting up all these master programs. What's different in those master programs that don't exist in other programs?
Yeah, I think what is different is that we name them the T-shaped students. I mean, that will not only have skills in one specific domain, but we want them effectively to be thinking out of the box, And during these 2 years master's students, I would say, program, we bring them effectively to different challenges with industry. We also want them effectively to be entrepreneur, and I already told you, I mean, we have events where we bring them effectively during one day close to startups. And this brings me to one point. I think that if we want effectively to facilitate or to accelerate this transition, we need new ideas and we need startups. And it's really important that the students will have effectively this mindset to go into not only large companies, but also that they will effectively be creative and support this transition by setting up a new company.
In Finland, how would you prepare students for this green age?
Well, one thing is to be like multidisciplinary, that you really need to think out of the box, as you said, that there has to be collaboration between all different fields, and I think that we are quite good in that. And also, well, Finland historically has been very good, for instance, in this raw material knowledge. So we have know-how on mining and exploration and metallurgical processes. And, well, those are the skills that are needed in this phase of the green transition really, really urgently. But unfortunately, those are also the topics that young people nowadays might find a little bit old-fashioned, maybe. They are not so eager to find themselves to study like mining or metallurgy. So that's where we have a challenge, how to lure those students in. And well, there are some ways. For instance, we've been advertising for the young pupils, like not also for the kids, but mainly in the secondary. Upper secondary high school, when they graduate and choose what they are going to study. So we are trying to tell them that these, even though you might find them old-fashioned, they're actually really topical and really, really interesting subjects. So, well, I think, I hope at least that people are starting to hear that. And that can be also done by, for instance, there is this bat circle that I'm working for. It's a like complete ecosystem of battery metals and battery materials. So by getting these things into common knowledge means that, well, people start to realize that, okay, metallurgical know-how and materials know-how, it is important still today and not only like yesterday's news.
From an industrial point of view, what do you think industry can do to help attract young people into this educational stream and then after that to the industry? Because, I mean, throughout my whole career, students in mining, mineral processing, materials, metallurgy, we're usually been the smallest department, the smallest group. Now, it makes us wonderful. We're happy because we're intimate with our students. We know our students by name. They know us. They can walk into our office anytime. Maybe there'll be a day when there'll be 150, 200 per year where we don't have that. But how do we achieve that attraction of students into this path?
From my point of view, this is a matter of doing it as teaming work. And I'm talking about working education and also working industry. There's a lot of times that people says, I want to reach that role, or I want to do this kind of job. And they have to understand that it's not only working in industry, it's not only adding value to a company, big or small, I agree with Didier. It's about living or feeling the experience of belonging to a certain sector. And that is something that maybe us as industry or educational area, and I put us both in the same part, have not been able to explain quite clearly or to connect. And the first thing to connect with others is getting in the other one's shoes. That's how we've said. And I think we've never asked students what do they feel about raw materials, mining, and industry. And that's one of the things that we might have to ask. We're talking in human resources side a lot about the experience of the employee, but we never talk about the experience of the student. And student is a potential employee. I mean, it's right the same person in a different moment of their life. So they are going to decide the same way. So when we talk about touching the minds or the volunteers of people to decide what they do, we have to think about feelings. How do they feel about their future career? What do you want to do? How do you want to feel when you get out of work? Do you want to feel that you were contributed to a great, project, or to a transition, or to, so maybe that will give us some clue about where or what should we explain about our world.
I think Didier, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I really want to support it, and I think that there is also a shift in the mentality of the students today. Mm-hmm. When I have the opportunity to discuss with the students who are in the masters, sometimes I just ask them, what brings you here? I mean, why a master in exploration or mining? And they answer me, I mean, we didn't even know it was mining exploration. It was about circularity, it was about sustainability, it was about digitalization. And you see the value. I mean, 30 years ago, they wanted to be a doctor or an architect. Now they have some value. They want to be part of the circularity, for example.
One of the things I find with many students I speak with, they don't always know the extent of opportunities that exist for them from a particular education, say materials engineering. They don't realize what happens out there. So I'll give you an example. We had a nanomaterials option. A lot of students came into it. Very few found jobs in nanomaterials. They ended up getting jobs in steel. And they found it exciting. But at the beginning, to tell them, come into the program to learn about steel so that you learn about how to transport energy, how to make materials for lightweighting for cars and airplanes. That was not of interest until they started to learn about these things. So there is a balance there. How do we strike it?
Well, I don't know. Listening to you both, I would say that things are changing. I mean, generations has always been different. I mean, I was not like my mom and dad's generation, and my kids won't be like me, obviously. But there is a mixing point where there is very few difference of ages that probably we're trying to tell the next generation what is good, how do we learn things, how we understand the world. And there's other people who are closer to them that will probably explain it much better from a different point of view, Because I cannot probably explain many stuff about technology, how to use one of the things that are very important right now is how to develop technology towards environmental matters. And well, I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to put any example. And probably students and startups, and whenever I got to hear to this kind of, roles, you are like, you all of a sudden you discover a new world. From my old point of view, if someone listens with new ideas, all of that, they will probably find out much more things or many more things that would help them to understand what they are telling and to kind of visionate what it could be.
Okay, Sonja?
Yeah, I was just thinking about your example that these nanomaterial engineers, I assume, while were finding jobs in steels, but at first they were not into it at all. It means that, well, maybe we should teach them more, like really concentrate on the scientific base so they can also later easily learn what they need.
Good point. That leads me to the next topic. I'm going to start with Didier, because on this topic you probably had the easiest task of all, even though it was a lot of hard work and it's an excellent program and it's a large program. But you started essentially from nothing. And you built the curriculum from the ground up for the purposes of the green economy. If you had a program that's already in place that generates and trains students for mechanical engineering or energy engineering or process engineering, what would you take out of that program to make these students ready for the green economy?
Not an easy question. I think what I would do, I mean, I don't think if I would put something out, I mean, I would prefer to give some more layers on, once again, on creativity, on innovation, on entrepreneurship, because I believe that this should be at the beginning an expertise. Expertise is important if you want effectively to innovate. But then effectively, you should think differently. You should think out of the box. You should be ready effectively to take a risk, to not go in a large industry, but maybe just to start with an idea. And I know it's difficult, and it's why effectively we have developed in our organization. I will not speak extensively, but we have developed a series of tools that we name the accelerator program, that we name the booster, that is really effectively to support first by a coaching of the young entrepreneur, and then by giving them some support for proof of concept, for developing a demo, a pilot, and so on. And yeah, it's important, and it brings me back to the fact effectively they have to take risk. But believe me, there are many tools we have developed, and there are many other tools which are not in our organization that could effectively today support entrepreneurship, support the creation of a startup that were not in place, I would say, 10 or 20 years ago.
Can I push you a little bit harder? If you compare your curriculum to a classical curriculum for, let's say, one that exists at École des Mines, what's left out of your program that's in the École des Mines program? As an example. I'm not picking on you, Alexandre. What's the difference? What is left out of, what did you take out? Because we only have so many years to prepare students to go out and prepare them for their lifelong learning and their careers.
To this, I will simply reply. I mean, we are working with something like 40 different universities, University of Lorraine, with Aalto universities. I mean, we are very close, I mean, to universities, to academics. They have already developed some program. And I know that we are also challenging them, I mean, because we are supporting master not only for 3 years, but also when they come back telling, look, we have a new ideas and so on, we do support. Telling you what they have taken out, I cannot answer you, but I can tell you that they are really creative, I mean, the academics in university, and they really make sure, I mean, they guarantee that what they do provide in terms of training is what is needed for now in the future.
Because I know whenever we go to a curriculum review, every professor wants to keep his course and the content exactly the same. But they're ready to add more into it, but there's no time to do so. And it frustrates the students.
But I don't know, I'm sorry. If you think about, I mean, if you take it gradually, things have not changed much. But if you take, when we went to college, when others, I mean, later on, and right now, lately, things have changed a lot. I mean, the way the university makes students to collaborate, not only in between, but also with industry and companies. How techniques and how the professors are more or are closer to the industry, to the technology, and to the real life. And I mean, they're so involved in everything that's going on. And that's something that it's not only, to me, it's not only the technical part, but it's a way of showing how exciting life can be. You know, if you really are where things are happening and find out and kind of replicate whatever it could be. There's a matter I really like, Amy Edmondson. She's from Harvard, and she writes about taming for innovation. And I'm quite sure you all well know, but I like it because she always talks about 5 steps, which are pretty easy, and that you can replicate wherever, in companies, in administration, in universities. And the first thing that she always says is when you work to innovate as a team, you should aim high. I mean, you should go for a goal that, first of all, it's something that it's hard to get, but it's also something that adds to the society, that adds, and it's quite tricky, because in her book, the example that she uses for that is when they got the miners in Chile, when they were 70 days under, and how everyone collaborated, administration, governments, miners, technicals, everyone collaborated because they aimed high. They had to save those guys, and they did, and they rescued them in a different way. And that's the first thing that she always says. And it was kind of, when I read it, I was like, and she gets that example from mining. The second thing would be team up. I mean, make teams. As I said, collaborate. I love the third one, which is fail well. We're all gonna fail. I mean, we all do. Several times a day. I mean, little things and big things. But the important thing about failing well, it is learning fast. You fail, you learn. And then the last one is repeat. Go ahead and do it again. Aim high, team up, and do it all again. And that is something, and those are techniques that you can see how are included in how we teach, or how you, that are the ones that the experts, how experts teach and how they replicate and how they practice. And that kind of gives us, or gives the students, kind of the emotions of what it could be.
That talks about more like a curriculum involving more project-based type of courses. And I teach a course, a project design course. It's one of the capstone design courses in our curriculum. And I don't know if people here know Buckley's. Do you know Buckley's at all here in Europe? No. It's a medication that you get off the counter when you have a cold or a sore throat. And they have classic commercials where the person telling you about Buckley's is a very stern person who tells you about it, and he's got the person who's sick standing next to them, gives them the spoonful of Buckley's, they take it, and he says, it tastes awful, but it works. So when I do my design course, I tell them, this course is like Buckley's. It tastes awful, but it works. Sonja?
That sounds like good advice, but there is also something that when you, well, I think that goes to that team up and collaborate part of that you can put students from different background and multidisciplinary groups, so they can learn from each other and they get excited about that, what they are learning. So they actually learn somehow more and different skills that are only in the curricula. They just learn extra and are really excited doing that.
Yes, but we also have many barriers that we build ourselves between disciplines in universities and in departments and in programs that we have to knock them down always.
Yes, I think that knocking them down is quite important.
Critical, yes. Yeah. To what degree, Didier, did industry play a role in building your program? And how important was it, in other words?
I would say it's more innovation that effectively plays a role in the curriculum we want to develop. And innovation is effectively linked, I would say, to the different value chain and to the different industrial players. But when we, for example, call for new projects in education, I mean, the topics we do address effectively to the applicants. It could be a university, an RTO, and so on. We address topics that are at the high priority, I mean, regarding innovation. If I take an example, we have developed in the last years professional training courses that are related to battery materials, that are related to recycling of battery materials, or related to rare earth elements, to permanent magnets. It means to technology which are linked to the Green Deal, but which are also linked effectively to the fact that there are plenty of gigafactories that will be implemented in the next coming years in Europe, but we are suffering for having, I would say, not a significant, I would say, level today of players in the refining of raw materials, in the manufacturing of CAM and so on, of battery materials. And it means that through the good understanding on where are the needs, where are the gaps today in Europe on this value chain, we are developing curriculums effectively to bridge these gaps.
But what role did industry play to help you identify those gaps?
We have, I mean, our organization is based on connecting people. We have currently more than 300 members, which are from the three, I would say, of the triangle knowledge, which are universities, large research technology center, and universities. And we bring them together in what we named the expert forum, for example, where we have dedicated sessions which are linked effectively to dedicated value chain. And by effectively having this dialogue, we can effectively identify, we can agree on what effectively is important, in what are the mega trends of innovation, where are the gaps, and what we have to develop in terms of learning modules to fulfill this gap.
Good. Any of you would like to add anything? The role of industry in building those curricula?
I think it's important to be, obviously, to participate. But there is one thing that I wouldn't say it's important, it's essential. In a way, when we think about technology and how technology grows, okay, and in our personal life and professional life, okay, in our professional life, sometimes we have the technology that we can access to because of company policies or whatever, okay. And in our personal life, we have more freedom and we can choose. And we can choose, and it's easier. And that's about technology, but when we think about knowledge, that it's something that it's open wide. I mean, right now, I would say that what is most different is that anyone can learn or has access to learn whatever they want. And the hard point is to say, what it's really needed for companies right now. And I would not say this is the only thing you have to learn, because sometimes people just can select some other training or learning or whatever, and with a different point of view that would add to the process because of how they think or how they apply it, and would add to the total. So I would not establish, like, this is all you have to learn. I will let it open, and I would say the collaboration in between industry and universities are, they are essential. Also with the administrations in terms of policies, and the policies that are coming up, they are not, because of we were lucky. Obviously, it's not. It's because we talk. And one thing marks the other and kind of says which one is the path. And then besides a path, you have a worldwide of opportunities that you can develop. And in that point, I think as industry and education should be aware of what our students are learning because they want to. Because sometimes that is what tells you what technology they can apply, things that we don't know, and we are building the knowledge in between all of us.
Great. Thank you. I think it's time to open the floor for questions from the audience. I hope we've been provocative enough to, you need one microphone, to hopefully generate some questions. I remember one from last year where after we finished doing our presentations, a student kind of came up and said, blamed us for the state of the Earth's atmosphere and said, you guys failed.
Yeah, that was a bit rude. I think we have a question from Venice, or a comment.
Hello, I'm Panos from the University of Venice. It's actually a comment. I don't have a question. Thank you very much for the very interesting discussion. I consider myself somewhere in between because I'm 15 years old in real age. I look a bit older, so I'm somewhere between the experienced professionals and the young students that they are coming on the way. I wanted to add just a simple statement that it's a bit provocative. I like Professor Hani's style. So I think we have to exonerate the presence of generalists in professional standards, in the sense that I'm pretty sure that all the traditional courses that we have in the universities, they create experts. We need those experts. Somebody needs to get a Nobel Prize in the future, so they will exist no matter what. But we also need to make sure that new students understand that in order to have green economy and green IT and green industry and everything related to that, we need people that they understand the disciplinarity of the concept. And in some cases, this might be considered not good because you're not an expert in your field, so it might get below. So I wanted to just express that maybe it's time to enrich our curriculum with different types of courses that they also take into consideration this aspect and say, okay, it's perfectly fine if you want to know a bit of everything and then apply it in your professional career. And that might be a small step, but it will lead in the direction that you mentioned. So thanks.
Thank you. Good point. Yeah, please, Sonja.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I think it is like, actually, it's not a separate thing, but what we need is like the sustainability and green thinking. We need to just have it in everything. It's not an extra block, but it needs to be there in a cross-cutting thing in every single study subject, so the students can have this way of thinking. It grows into them as a piece.
I also had a comment. We are now in the post-COVID era, and for the first time, what I see that has changed is that a student now is not necessarily following in their father and grandfather's tradition to go to that university and take that course. Yeah, it's really during COVID, people realize it's not even necessary to have a job. It's definitely not necessary to have a job in that sector and kind of follow a certain tradition. Yeah, so I think what is important is in terms of skills. Let's first stop that. I think it's very important. I met 3 very bright students from the energy department here, Tom, Enzo, and Ugo, if they're here. And we were discussing the point of why certain things are being done, like e-fuels, for example, or carbon capture, the energy intensity of it. Yeah. So people are already puzzled about why one agenda after the other takes over from the previous one, and we sometimes lose the virtue in what was there before. Like today, we discussed about energy efficiency and how that has become from less sexy to a forgotten topic. And that is not ideal. And this incoherence in how we act as industry or as academia is completely being caught by the young minds there. And they see the challenge in how, therefore, the priming of a course and not answering the fundamental of it is an issue, yeah, and they are very quick to catch it. So I think in terms of foundational courses, like how Sonja was saying, multidisciplinary is very, very important. It's very important to kind of bring the critical thinking, but also I think a basic foundation in systems thinking at a course level. And when you're selling those courses, a thesis as to what this course wants to achieve, not just for academia or universities, not just for a group universities, not just for the industry, but the bigger questions that a young person today reads in the newspaper, in the financial press. They see, oh, we have only these many resources, and we have to make the green transition faster. The course has to be out there with a solid thesis and to constantly challenge itself. The next year course will have to challenge, oh, we wanted to do this, we could not achieve this, but that's why we have brought in this.
Right. I mean, all the courses that I'm aware of at U of A, we always tell the students, these are the learning outcomes. And in the courses I teach, at the middle and at the end, I tell them, this is what we've achieved of the learning outcomes, so they know what the roadmap is. I'd like to hear from some of the students that are in the audience. I'd like to hear your perspective on the green age and the education that you're getting or you hope to get in that green age economy that you're going to be working in. Anybody? Anybody want to blame us for the state we're in?
Alberta, I think.
I will break the ice for the younger ones, being a PhD student. I think it's too late to wake up awareness, even in the master studies, not to talk about the PhD studies. And I think that the people or even the small kids, they need to be aware of what's going on. And get in step with the time and get in step with the innovation, because today's generations, at least my opinion is that they lack ambition, because they're somehow lost. They have no idea what's going on in the world, and they don't feel the need to study, to improve themselves. So maybe get in touch with them at a younger age. Thank you.
Good point. Very good point.
I think we had another blamer there.
Is there another question? Okay, there's a microphone coming.
So, hello, I'm Olivier, and I'm a student at Nancy, and I'm from the energy department. So, my question is about international university. Don't you think that maybe going to study in international university encourages a brain drain, whereas every countries have already their own problems? So is it possible to go abroad, whereas our own country already has their problems?
I would like to take the answer first to this question. I run an international exchange program and a dual degree program with Université de Lorraine, in particular École des Mines, for 20 years. And I would say that every student that has participated, both from Canada and from France, going either way, what they gain is a different perspective of thinking. So many of them go back home and they say, now I can see a different way of thinking that I didn't realize existed before. And I can bring that different way of thinking back home to my country and apply it to the problems that exist in my country to help solve them. So it's not a brain drain. It's more of a I can't think of the word off the top of my head right now, but it's learning how to do things differently, that you can still learn the same thing. You still learn thermodynamics, but you learn a different way. You still learn, I used to collaborate with German colleagues who basically said, well, we want to collaborate with this individual from this country, but not this one, because this one we know how they boil water, this one we don't know how they do it. So yes, water boils at the same temperature, but there are different ways to do it. You use a gas oven, you use a gas stove or an induction stove. There are different ways to do it. And you learn from that. And you bring those solutions and those ways of doing back home to solve your problems with a different perspective. You also make friends that are lifelong.
I wanted to go back to the previous comment talking about how kids sometimes they realize what's going on and some others they don't. And I was thinking about that statement and about your comments, and I agree with you. And from my perspective, there is a part of the society which is very well prepared, which is very worried about learning how to be prepared, how to get a good job, how to add value to the society. And then there is another part who does not know what's going on in the world, just like that. And they have connectivity 24 hours, 7 days a week, but they don't know what's going on, and they don't care. And when we say universities or schools or whatever should do or should not do. In here, I think we all have responsibility, okay? And I always think that we are kind of like how our mom and dad are. We kind of are like our best teacher is, and we are like our admired boss is. I mean, depending on what company you're working on, if you stay working in there, you will probably end up being something different than if you were in a different company. So whatever makes a person to be, it is a accumulate of teachers, parents, brothers, co-workers that made up all the society or all their personality. So from my perspective, thinking about we have very well, I mean, people who's prepared better than ever, and people who had the chance to know more than ever and know more than ever, nothing than ever. So I think it's a matter of adding a lot of activities and actions in a lot of points of views. And society should work from all sectors to really create all that. Because talent, because the point is that there is a lack of talent. I mean, that it's something that it's true. I mean, companies are really trying to find talent that they cannot find, and on the other side, there's a lot of people who cannot find a job. And it's not only that they do not find it in the way, it's that they're looking to, you know, they have different perspectives.
I just want to add one more comment to your point, to your question. And there's a human side to it, and that is as you grow and go through life, you will see things on the TV and on the networks from other parts of the world. And if you stay enclosed and always stay within your country throughout your life, throughout your studies, you will be very myopic, and you're not going to see and recognize the problems other countries have, other people have, and recognize that their aspirations are the same as yours. And with that, unless there's any other questions from the audience, I'll pass the, maybe you'll take one last one. Sure.
Hello, I'm a student here in the Geosciences and Civil Engineering department, and I had a question. How can you convince students whose environmental values are more and more important to get into, for instance, the sector of materials extracting? How do you get them to think, yeah, I'm making a difference for the better?
Can I just complete this question with a bit of a personal situation? I met, just for you students to know, I met the 3 persons that are here in Berlin at the EIT RawMaterials 1 year ago. And Sol was saying on stage that she's looking for the way to make students, engineers, understand that they are heroes because they are going to make the Green Deal happen. So I would like to reformulate a little bit your question, even more provocative to ask maybe Sol, can you make us a short report, progress report on how to make the students feel heroes when they work on the field of material science, geoscience, and energy? That's the trap question to finish.
Okay, well, the point is, I understand your point, okay? The thing is, we need, and I said it at the beginning, we need metals to make transition, to make the world better, and probably, and then I understand when you say, okay, circular economy, recycling metals and all that stuff. Okay, so that goes with you. We need heroes. We need people that really fight and really are studying and really are team working and trying to convince whoever does not know anything about science that they have to do whatever, okay? And if you think about that, We need people that no one's going to understand them, that are going to know more than anyone about a lot of matters, but still, they have to explain it, they have to convince. Why? If I'm the one who knows, I'm the expert, but you still have to do it. And you have to do a lot of stuff, even though you are the one who has the expertise, and you're willing to add value to the society. And still, you have to be a hero to convince the society. But what you're saying, it's a good point. Now, how about natural resources? We're running out of natural resources, circular economy, it's easy, okay? We're talking about doing the things in the right way. But still, we have to do it in a sustainable way. That means we cannot go from gas and from oil and gas and say, we're not going to use it anymore, we're going to go to green electric. Okay, you need a transition, and probably if we go right to 100% to green, renewable energy, we still will have some problems, because renewable energy need metals and will make some, garbage, and so everything's. It's not about doing in a way, just in a way, or just in the other. It's about finding the right equilibrium to do it in a sustainable way. And to do that, we need people that get natural resources, but at the same time live it in the right way, and live it in a way that can be used for future. Because you need future for those, mining and reestablish that land. So the point is trying to find not only saying it's good renewal, it's good green transition, there's much more to come. 15, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be talking about this. Within 10 years, you and I won't be talking about this. So we need people that create whatever we're going to be talking in the 10 years. And we need heroes.
Oh, that's a great place to stop.
Yes.
And please join me in thanking Sol, Didier, and Sonja for their contributions today. Thank you. And I'm going to pass the floor to Alexandre, who has an important announcement, particularly where the drinks are going to be held.
Yes, but before that, I would like that we all thank our moderator also, Hani. Thank you so much. Before the most important information, which is where are the drinks, I would like to wrap up a little bit what we have been speaking about today. I will be short, don't worry. We've been speaking about very, very different topics: raw materials, industry, IT, skills today. But there is a point I think is common, and is that all of us, we need more case studies. Antonio Marcomini spoke about this for his research project. I think our students, I know a little bit them, they like case studies. I mean, so they like, for example, when you are addressing us a problem and together with the teacher, we are trying to solve that and they are using their knowledge. So this is also that we need in research, we need it in education. And I want to believe somehow we can help you as companies. And I think Sonja can confirm that. So basically tomorrow, the program of tomorrow is, after this inspiring day, is to basically pick up some case studies and to see how we can transform it into a project and some way to work together. There are many tools to work together. There is Erasmus program, there is EIT RawMaterials, there is also Horizon project, there is also bilateral agreement between companies, between university, etc. That will be the point to discuss tomorrow, but maybe we can start and anticipate during the discussion. So the program for the few hours, the next hours. I think first of all, you should grab a glass of wine. First of all, I think, yes. Let's be realistic. So it will be where the lunch was in the main building, okay? But there will be a main stage. And after a while, when we are sure that you have grabbed your glass of wine, I would like to invite you to just give a little bit of attention to our early career researchers. They are young master students or PhD students, and within within a minute, they will just introduce their poster that you can visit afterwards. And we have a panel that will just give them, allocate the prize, the award. All right. So thank you very much for this this day. Tomorrow we hope we will see a lot of you at the workshop, and I will not keep you longer. Thank you very much. It was really inspiring day, and it will continue right now. So have a good evening. I would like also to remind that everything has been filmed with our great team that I would like to thank. They did a really great job, and the video will be available on YouTube. And basically, you are really free to share it on your social network, to use it as you want, to spread it. This is part of the package, right? So thank you to our speakers, also to the other speakers of the day and to the students who come. You are welcome to join at the cocktail.